Let's go to our final witness. Mr. Weiser, you are recognized. Welcome to the committee.
Thank you very much. Chairman Bean, Ranking Member Bonamici, distinguished members of the subcommittee, thank you for the opportunity to appear today to discuss the state of civic education in America. I am chair of the Jack Miller Center, a nonpartisan nationwide network of scholars dedicated to reinvigorating education in America's founding principles and history. I do this work as a volunteer, as a concerned citizen, and so it is a special honor to be here today to testify. Thank you. At the Jack Miller Center, we do not have a set of prescriptive policies to enact, let alone a model curriculum to suggest. Rather, I'm here to provide a descriptive vision of the democratic heritage we must pass to each generation of Americans. JMC stands neither on the right nor the left, but on the side of optimism about America's future and faith in its fundamental principles. We believe that the ideals of the American founding are the pre-partisan inheritance of every citizen, and we therefore believe that every citizen deserves an education in these principles. Anyone who has lived this decade can tell you our nation has had some hard days. During another bitter election season, civil dialogue was all but absent. From the news media to social media, even at our holiday tables, our current civic culture sees, not seeks, common ground. Especially troubling was a November 4th Wall Street Journal report that civics teachers were steering clear of the election or really any current political issue in their classrooms. Political campaigns and national issues are crucial opportunities for teachers to engage students in the democratic process and teach them to become thoughtful citizens. Yes, there are teachers who have taken it upon themselves to teach their personal politics, but many more teachers, I believe, understand their critical role and simply lack the confidence to lead their students in political discussions. They are provided with limited educational resources and limited content-based career development while having to cope with a volatile political climate and a culture that devalues what Americans hold in common. We need to work together to find solutions for this crisis of confidence. We need to support civics teachers in any way we can so they can teach students to grow into their roles as young citizens who take responsibility for self-government. I come with hopeful news today. Last month, JMC held its third National Summit on Civic Education. Our country is experiencing a renaissance of interest in civic education, and none too soon. At colleges across the country, traditional fields of liberal education, from history and political thought to philosophy and literature, have been disappearing. The move away from core knowledge has trickled down to the K-12 classroom. For 20 years, JMC has worked to fill this gap by supporting scholars devoted to teaching America's founding principles and history. Our programs also aim to empower K-12 teachers with a deep understanding of core texts, great debates, and great moments in our history. We work with the top professors in our network of 1,200 scholars to provide rigorous professional development and innovative classroom models that give teachers the knowledge and confidence they need. Across the country, we've found partners who share our reverence for the American political tradition. We have witnessed, for example, a rising desire to reincorporate civics into college university curricula, expressed in new programs at Stanford, Purdue, and Johns Hopkins, to name a few. And after decades of underfunding, a number of state legislatures are now stepping up to provide support for interdisciplinary departments at public universities dedicated to the kind of education and staffed by leading political scientists, historians, economists, and other scholars that you heard about today from Judd Atkins. Another benefit of this emerging movement for civics in higher education is advanced civic education for teachers. Arizona State University and Utah Valley University, the latter in partnership with UVU's School of Education, have introduced innovative graduate programs for civics and history teachers to advance their knowledge of the subjects they teach. The beating heart of American civic education will always be at the K-12 level. We need to redouble our efforts to teach students about all of America's history, the good and the bad. The occasion of America's 250th birthday presents an opportunity for this civic education renewal. We believe that the civics curiosity that characterized our bicentennial can again take hold in 2026, and we certainly need to make the most of that opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Weiser. Well done. Mr. Weiser, I know you're specializing in civics, and I appreciate your voice. I can tell there's great excitement and enthusiasm, and you sense, you must have read Mr. Rohn's book about a sense of urgency to get it done. Civics, is there a problem with civics being taught in American schools right now?
Certainly there's a gap, and it cannot be filled with alternative theories about how we came to be. We have something in common. We have to share that. And in so doing, we build citizens, whole citizens, self-reliant citizens.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you again for our witnesses. Mr. Weiser, thank you for your leadership of the center in Philadelphia area. Incredible organization. I'm looking forward to actually working more with you on this. In your testimony, I was particularly struck by your statement that we have a crisis of knowledge in the country right now when it comes to civics education, and unfortunately, I agree. As you noted, I believe that there's no time better than the present to address this crisis, given the 250th celebration of our nation's founding coming up in less than 2 years. I've often said that education is a pathway to opportunity, and I believe there's no better occasion to help promote our nation's history, values, and traditions than our 250th birthday. So, Mr. Weiser, how do you think we can use this upcoming celebration to inspire the next generation of civic leaders?
Well, it's an interesting question. Thank you for it, Mr. Thompson. The bicentennial in 1976 triggered an interest in civics, recreations, history novels became bestsellers, made the careers of people like David McCullough. We think that same interest can be kindled in 2026. We've worked closely at the Jack Miller Center with Victoria Hughes, whom you may know, who is the co-chair for civics education for America 250. I think that's also a start, because we'll have a second 250th celebration coming up some years after on the 250th founding of the Constitution itself. And so this runway, if you will, creates a real opportunity to rekindle interest and activity.
Yeah, I think it's an exciting opportunity, absolutely. As we've heard in your testimony, part of the issue is a crisis of confidence in the classroom. Unfortunately, too often these days, facts are being needlessly politicized. For example, I think everyone can agree that all voting age adults in this country should be able to name the 3 branches of government. However, a 2023 survey from the Annenberg Public Policy Center found that only 17% of all Americans could not even name one branch of government. This is a failure in education, and we must do better in K through 12 level educating the next generation. And each year I'm proud to organize and participate in an event called Government Outreach back in my district. I use local universities. I represent a third of the landmass of Pennsylvania, so we spread these 3 things out for accessibility. And the event is for high school students throughout the Northwest and Central Pennsylvania, an opportunity to get involved in government, ask questions, and discuss current issues with a variety of speakers from different backgrounds. And over the years, I found that what makes events like these so successful is that high school students have rarely had the opportunity to interact with their government at any level or ask meaningful questions of their elected officials. And trust me, these kids are prepared when they show up for government outreach days. I get my hardest questions from them. So, Mr. Weiser, given your work at the Jack Miller Center, how can we as a nation make government and civics more personal for our nation's youth to help educate them about our history, civil discourse, and our nation's values?
Thank you for the question. we can talk about buildings and curricula and all the rest, and those are important elements, obviously, in an educational system. But they're two intangibles. One is curiosity. We talked about that before. The other is confidence. Are we arming our teachers with what they need to do a really good job of teaching our culture, of teaching our history, of teaching our way of doing governmental business? I mean, these are things that, when we boil it all down, we all have. And for some to get it, and for others to not get it, is one of the cruelest forms of inequity that we can possibly engineer.
Mr. Weiser, you mentioned in your testimony that many teachers have simply never been educated in how to lead discussions about current events, political debates, or our system of government. In your view, why have teachers been prepared so poorly, or often not at all, to lead these kinds of discussions?
Well, what we are told repeatedly, and thank you for your leadership, Madam Chair, thank you. What we've been told repeatedly is that in schools of education, they receive pedagogy, but very little content. And they are hungry for content. We have no difficulty drawing a crowd when we hold a seminar, a program with a senior scholar and high school or grade school teachers. They want it. They want it. They know they lack it. They know they need it, and they want it.
And we also know from research that when we provide people who have strong content backgrounds but have never gone to a school of education, because of their strong backgrounds in content, they make excellent teachers often. Not always, but often. So you are verifying, again, what we know about the need for content. So thank you very much for doing that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I apologize for going over time a little bit, but I do think this has been an important hearing to expose to the American people the benefits of these programs that are being displayed here today. Many, many more out there, and we need to highlight those when we can. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.